The reality is, and this is the harsh part of management, right? Not everyone is going to grow. Not everyone's going to grow
Mhm.
up in the company. What we talk a lot about is we can't read your mind. You have to advocate. In the next 3 to 4 years, we are going to see our first batch of Gen Z managers, and I don't
Oh
know
boy.
what to expect. Um,
If you have a single book rec to make, is there one in particular that stands out for you?
so it's not going to make sense for everybody.
Welcome to One Size Fits None. I'm here with Avi Gorin, the founder and CEO of Marquee. Hello, Avi. How are you?
Hey, good to see you. I'm doing good.
You as well. So before we get into it, can you tell us first just a little bit about Marquee? Congratulations, you just raised a $10 million Series B, I believe. Amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about the company?
Thank you. Yes, emotionally, it felt like a Series F. I don't know. That was a hard process, but we got through. We feel very grateful and fortunate to be there. Marquee is here to be an operational efficiency tool for multi-unit, multi-concept hospitality. So what does that mean? When you think about a 50 location coffee shop, updating menus, handling reviews, making sure their data is just consistent and flowing, and removing the manual difficulty of running a hospitality org. Plus, we get to go to pizza conferences. So that's a win.
Excellent. I'm sure the team's very productive after the conference.
Oh yeah, a lot of
Very
tums.
productive. Yeah. Excellent. Well, so you've had an incredible career. Would you mind just walking through your career briefly for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's funny to think about career beginning in high school, but I'm doing what I'm doing today because of the love I found for hospitality working at DeCoco's Pizzeria for 3 years in high school. That was when I first
Hmm.
realized I love restaurants. I love serving people. I love being the guy who hands the hot pizza over and seeing the happiness, right? That's a real
Uh-huh.
feeling you get. And that kind of led me to where I ended up today. I ended up going to the wrong job fair at the University of Texas and found
Okay.
Yelp. I went to the communication job fair instead of economics and found my way to Yelp from there. And so I spent just under 2 years working at Yelp. This is 2012. It's the wild, wild west of digital media.
Yep.
iPhone was not the iPhone. Near me searches were coming. They weren't a thing yet, right? Near me searches were coming. That was legitimately the pitch. And so it was an incredible time to be at kind of this junction of digitizing restaurants and trying to understand the shift in consumer behavior and what that ended up looking like from 2012 to 2014 was wildly different, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then after about 2 years at Yelp, kind of felt like I plateaued, needed a breather. My then girlfriend, now wife, and I ended up taking 6 months and all of our money and traveled South America for 6 months, where I'm from. My family's from Chile.
Amazing.
We needed a breather. We needed to come back up for air.
Yeah.
And when I came back, we had spent legitimately, we budgeted perfectly. Every penny was gone. And we were living in my parents' basement. And one of my best friends and my oldest friends, now my
Wait, wait,
co-founder, Evan,
wait. Sorry, before we go into that, so you and your girlfriend at the time were living in your parents' basement?
we got engaged the week before we moved in.
Nicely done. Okay.
just in the nick of time.
Very important
Um,
detail.
and yes, living in their basement on Long Island. And one of my best friends, Evan Perlmutter, was working at a company called Yext. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Okay.
Um, and when I was telling him what I was looking for, and it wasn't just the next stage of what I wanted to be doing daily, but the company I wanted to be at, the type of culture, the place I wanted to be, and realize if I'm going to spend, I'm not even going to say 9 to 5, let's be real, it was like 9 to 7, 9:15 to 7. They wanted to be at a place that was powerful, right? And so when he told me about Yext, I ended up applying, got the job, and spent another just under 2 years at Yext working on the partnerships team closely with Brian Rakowski, who ended up being now my third co-founder. And that was where everything that I feel like I had done before started to click. The power and magic of hospitality, working with these independent operators to kind of your commercial small mid-market operators, seeing the power of enterprise software and this automation of data, and just everything started to kind of come together in what would
Hmm.
eventually become Marquee for me. But it was really, I wanted to start at the pizzeria because all of that led, like if those steps hadn't happened in that order, I don't think
Right.
I would have stepped away to start Marquee.
The dots sort of connected perfectly for you.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing. And then you started Marquee. What year was this?
I officially started Marquee August 2016. We sold our first license in February 2017 to Maui Onion on the corner of 25th and Madison. They're no longer around.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been an ebb and flow since then, and we're obviously a different company today than we were then. But yeah, first dollar
Right.
came in February 2017.
Amazing. And now walk us through, how big is the company now? What does the team look like and how do you have it set up? Like
Yeah.
how many directs do you have?
We're about 50 people today, which
Hmm.
it's so hard because I remember I have a photo in my kitchen of my first New York office, which was me in the corner of our studio apartment in Queens, right? And then even when we brought on, because I started solo as a solo founder and brought on Evan and then Todd and then Rucko as a third co-founder and just having to give up those responsibilities and bring them on. But we
Right.
were 50 today. I have 6 direct reports.
And this is, tell me if I have this right, as you were founding the company and now growing it and running it, this is also your first management experience.
Correct. I've only previously been managed,
Yes.
which is why, as part of this, I figured, okay, there's so much information out there. I'm going to try and take all of my experiences. And we talk about this a lot as a leadership team that, at least for me and Evan, we remember so clearly being the employee, being the other person, being the IC. And we tried, look, we're going to make mistakes, but we try to do so much with that lens and just thinking about it from kind of every angle and every side. And then outside of just devouring whatever I could online, I am, if there's a book that I can read, I'm in. I'm in.
Yep.
Give me
Yep.
all of the books, all the
I've,
books.
I've been there.
And it's funny because you read these books and you end up taking away 2 or 3 points from each one, a chapter here, a chapter there, but slowly you find what sticks.
Hmm.
And it's been one of my favorite parts about building a management style with my exec team. Everyone kind of has it. We do like a quarterly book club and everyone has a different takeaway. And it's fun to hear that and piece together your strategy.
If you have a single book rec to make, is there one in particular that stands out for you?
So it's not going to make sense for everybody because it's changed the way that I've not just managed, but the way that I kind of am and operate. I love, like, absolutely love the one I quote the most is Unreasonable Hospitality.
Uh-huh.
And the way that the biggest takeaway for me from it was one of this concept of just raindrops make oceans. For whether it's how I'm speaking to somebody, looking at a budget, looking at a win, these things all compound, and you have to take those for how they are. And it's really, I think it's the one that like has truly changed the way I behave.
It's incredible. Yeah, probably uncommon for most business people to apply that one, but
Yeah,
it's good. Let's do a little like kind of lightning round here and just quickly want to get
fun.
into just tactically like how you're running your team day to day and how you sort of think about a lot of the different challenges around management. So let's just start actually just jump into the goal management piece of things. And so, how do you make sure you're setting the right goals across the organization? And then like more specifically, how do you make sure, day to day, week to week, people are actually like working on the right stuff?
So we've struggled with that, and it's changed year over year, right? We in 2022, when we all of a sudden we went from 3 people to 15, 18 people, we wanted to
Hmm.
have these goals. And so we set in our February leadership onsite, we set our annual goals. What are our 4 annual goals? You fall into these buckets. Everything you do needs to drive towards this. And I think some of the mistakes we made and what we've taken away from that, like for revenue, our goal was, I'm going to make up a number. We want to end the year at 3.5 million in ARR. That's not the goal. And we made mistakes to try to get there. We signed bad clients. We put out things that we shouldn't have been doing. The goal should have
Hmm.
been building the funnel, building the machine, building the sticky product. What are KPIs we can assign to get us there? But that revenue number needs to be a byproduct, not the goal. And I
Right.
think that's how we've shifted over the last few years from that and how we can do those types of things. So like last year, marketing, one of our goals was 6 speakership opportunities, right?
Hmm.
Because the byproduct of that will be top of funnel interest inbounds. And we saw it, right? It came to
Totally.
fruition. And so that's been a big shift on us is changing from the wrong goal, even though at
Hmm.
first look you think, hey, that makes sense, right? It's interesting because this year, having gone through the fundraise, it's almost you have to remember there's your goals as an investor and as a business to be successful, but that's not
Hmm.
your goal for this year. That's not how you get there. And I think that's been a big growth journey for us is understanding those steps.
One way to think about it is focusing on outputs versus inputs. And when you have sort of the big, three, four, $10 million ARR goal, whatever it is, that's an output of all the activities you need to do, all those
Right.
inputs to actually achieve that goal. And
Right.
it's tricky with goal setting because you do have, you need to hit that ARR number, whatever it is.
Oh, for
But
sure.
then how do you translate it?
We're a team of first time founders, and my exec and leadership team are all people who have stepped up into roles, right? So we
Hmm.
get to make these mistakes, and we encourage the mistake, make it one time, but it's been a big learning curve for all of us. And I think we're
Yeah.
now in a place where we're really kind of finding our rhythm, our momentum, and understanding of what makes a successful year.
Once you set those goals, whatever they are, how do you make sure the team is aligned around them and actually like, really focused on it day to day, week to week?
So that's another one where we've evolved over the last few years. When we launched that first goal in 22, it was, hey, every all hands on Thursday, we're going to give you a revenue update. Like, make it a big thing. Not obviously, you can always see our revenue, but we're going to announce it.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you have 2 bad months, and you're like, oh, that's not a fun goal to be touting right now, right? But that's a big one. Is we try to be very transparent with everything as much as we can. So
Yeah.
talking about those goals, owning our failures, owning where we miss is crucial for us. So that's been a big one. And then now in our weekly leadership, it's a lot of what's our goal? How are we getting there? What are we marching towards? What do I need from you? What do I need help with? Move on.
What's your sort of school of thought on one-on-ones and check-ins and people sending weekly summaries? How do you like to deal with all that?
It's so hard because it's one of those things where one-on-ones, everyone has an opinion. There's no right opinion. It's about what works for you and your team and your company. For me, every one-on-one seems to be a little bit different. Whereas I'll grab, with my VP of marketing, it's very bullet pointed, almost transactional. Here's what we need to do. How's this? How's this? What do you need from me? Let's go. Versus when I meet with my VP of engineering, it's just 30 minutes for us to brainstorm and talk about the bigger vision and strategy that we don't get in those R&D meetings with the team. But for me personally, just the way that we were fully distributed. We now have a New York City sales office, so about 20 people in New York. The rest of us live in the cloud. So look, we use an office tool called Roam, and I pop in like crazy. I'm a pop in guy. I don't want to slack you for 2 minutes. I want to hear your voice.
For the audience, can you just describe what Roam is?
I will do a poor job of describing it. Roam is our office in the cloud. It's
AIHQ, I heard, is what they like.
AIHQ. So I'm still sold. I'm still sold on the Moroder's map reference from Harry Potter. I love that one.
Yeah.
But basically, right, it's your virtual office. Everyone has their desk, their office space, our conference rooms, and it allows you to have that almost organic pop-in, which I love. I missed. I mean, when I started Marquee, and again, working in my apartment, my 500 square foot apartment, I missed my friends. I missed people. It's like finally we start growing, COVID hits, and I'm like working alone again. There's nothing like that energy. And so for me, it's the pop-in, which has removed a lot of the context, I think, from one-on-ones, because I don't want to wait a week to talk to you about this. Some of my best relationships I have with my reports almost means a 10-minute one-on-one because we've been talking all week. I'm not saving things, right? And that to me works for me.
Your approach is sort of unstructured check-ins, and then Roam enables you to be able to sort of have those quick conversations in a more organic form. Is that fair?
Very fair. We definitely live a little bit in organized chaos, and we try to make sure it's organized chaos and not frantic energy. And it is a very fine line.
Right. Well, whatever you're doing, it's working, clearly. How do you do, so do you do like stand-ups or check-ins? You mentioned your executive meeting you do once a week, I think on Thursdays, you said.
So I have a few standing meetings, and part of this actually came because it's so funny. You go through these ebbs and flows that kind of change from a flavor of the week to like, oh no, this is on the menu now. There was a while where it's just we weren't communicating well enough. You could tell that people were siloed. Well, I mentioned this to my CRO, but I thought I mentioned it to you, but and all of a sudden things are getting lost. We're like, no, we're going to over communicate now. We're going to have exec meetings on Monday, leadership on Wednesday. Sorry to the 5 of us. You're going to repeat and hear things again on Wednesday, but now everyone's in the know. And we've toned it down a little bit. We've gotten better at that communication, but that's the 2 big recurring weeklies. And now, as of this week, I brought on my first chief of staff.
Congratulations.
So thank you. I'm beyond excited. She'd been with us for 4 years, another role. And I think this is going to be an unlock for me. When you talk about growing my management style, I'm really excited for it. This is kind of my true first, when I say direct report, of like my team. Right, because my VP of marketing is not my team. My R&D is not my team. This is like things that Avi has to do on a daily basis. She's going to help me. I don't know why I referred to myself in the third person. That was ridiculous. And so that's now a new stand-up that we have every day. That I don't traditionally have that, right?
Right.
And then my co-founders and I meet every morning.
Every morning. So you sync with your 2 co-founders. And what does
morning.
that meeting look like? Is it like a half hour? You guys are really getting into it? Or is it just a very quick, what's going on today?
It started in summer 2020 as a 15 minutes, everyone go around, spend 3 to 5 minutes. What are you doing today? Basically, read me your calendar, tell me anything you need to know. How can I help you? It's evolved into more of a 20, 25 minute, a little bit of bullshit, a little bit of like, hey, this is the structure. Here's what I'm working on. Here's what's top of mind. But also it's like grabbing your coffee in the morning, and it kind of helps set the tone for the day. what am I excited
Hmm.
about as we're going through the fundraise. This is my way to give you the updates without slacking you at 1 a.m. and just it's a good way to
Right.
make sure the three of us continue to be aligned externally, right? And
Hmm.
always make sure that we're projecting the same goals, the same image, the same thing we want to be doing. Because I think it's really important for the three of us to be very clear when we talk about things.
Right. No, it's a powerful technique just to make sure all three people at the core of the company are really fully on the same page. So shifting gears a little, talking about the people in the org. How do you deal with like the people management stuff, performance reviews, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it's something we've struggled with, right, historically. And I look at my own kind of history, and I think I shared this with you previously. My first job out of college at Yelp, I made it through the training. It was 90 days of intense training. You're one of the 60% that make it through, and then you get on this team, and I was just not performing. I just wasn't, things weren't happening. It wasn't the right vibe and energy. And I feel very grateful that the director of sales was like, let's move Avi to a different team. And all of a sudden, I got a different manager and I'm at 120% of quota for the rest of my career there, right? And it's that performance part of it has always been difficult because I still carry some of the scars of what a bad manager can do. I find that when it comes to performance management, I'm probably overly sympathetic and I give maybe a longer leash than I should or whatever the right term is. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's something that we're always trying to improve on. We're always trying to get better at. Every department kind of has their own technique and style. You obviously can't compare revenue, which has such a quota carrying, quantifiable output,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus marketing and where we're going and the ops team. One thing to our CRO's credit when it comes to revenue, you can't teach energy and hustle, right? And so that's something where if you can give me that, we'll work with you. But we struggle with performance management and something that I know, we're excited to be doing some windmill stuff with to help get us there. Because it's a big point for us. And if we're going to keep growing this company and this team, to go back to 2022 goals, one of our goals from there that we've kept is people. We always want to
Right.
invest in our people. When we hire someone, it's a big deal to me. We're bringing on someone. We're giving you
Mhm.
we're paying you. That's a livelihood. There are people that are depending on you. All of that.
Right.
It's a big weight. And so we want to invest in our
Right.
people. And part of, the things we've taken away from the Netflix book and other books is like that performance management, that feedback. You don't by pulling your punch that doesn't do them any good. Now again, you can deliver things better. You can do things the right way. And that's where we've really tried to hone in on is how do we do performance management in a way that makes them better and us better for that. And it's hard.
Well, I think it's a very important point. I always thought people don't take hiring seriously enough. And as part of that, it creates an obligation for you as the
Mm-hmm.
manager or the employer. You're taking on the obligation to help that person be successful. Like you should take that seriously. Someone who helped me realize that point was actually Jim Steele. He was the president of Salesforce for a while, and then when he came over to Yext, as we sort of talk about like hiring salespeople, like enterprise salespeople, he would make the point that it is $1 million decision. If you're hiring an enterprise salesperson, they're making 3 to 400K OTE, maybe something more. And so by the time you invest in them going through training and their whole ramp up and like figuring it out, and if they're not going to work out, it takes you a while, year and a half, 2 years, and so you've invested a ton in paying them, but then on top of that, you have this opportunity cost of all the leads and opportunities they worked and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a big decision.
I would rather us live through the pain and then make a hiring decision 90 days into that pain than anticipate something. Now, again, there's different
Right.
parts of that. We're expecting some pretty serious revenue growth. We're expecting a 2x growth next year. So yes,
Yeah.
we're hiring a junior AM in February to get ahead of that, right? That's a preemptive one, but we've seen the trend the last 3 months to justify that. I think it's such a mistake when people overhire and don't understand what comes from that from a morale perspective and everything. I watched my wife's company go through 3 rounds of RIFs for
Yeah.
really no good reason but an overhire.
That's been the story of like the past couple of years. Some businesses are legitimately slowing down and you couldn't have predicted
Mm-hmm.
it, but some of them are
Correct.
just throwing heads against the wall. And that's what people have been doing. So switching gears, so you have people like in the company. How do you approach, coaching, feedback, like helping them be successful?
It's something we're investing heavily in 25. We're working with Windmill and we're working with a company called Mindful Negotiating, which I think is the wrong title for what they do, but it's a lot about coming in and how do you work as a team? How do you function as people? How can you better communicate? All of these things that come together. And we've been working with them now for just under a year, and we're seeing the results of that. On top of that, how that impacts what we're doing with Windmill. Right. And being
Hmm.
able to have that feedback loop. And it's so hard because it's hard to get to a place where people are giving you that honest and true feedback. We try to lead by example with that. So much of that is about tone and how you deliver it, which again, when you think about written feedback, it's a daunting task. So there's lots of things we're going to do and invest and still get it wrong.
Right.
um, but as long as we're better, right? Raindrops make oceans, as long as we're better than we were a year ago.
And how do you have any sort of systematic way you approach people's career development? You're still a relatively early stage company, so probably haven't installed those things yet, and
Yeah.
probably it's informal. But how do you think about that whole piece?
On the revenue side, we do, right? It's very quantifiable, right? So we can say, hey, when you get to this amount of revenue, you jump here and you jump here and you jump here. I mean, at Yelp, they did it. I think they did a little, I'll just, for feedback, and I've told them this, they did it a little poorly. You didn't get a second monitor at Yelp until you hit 110,000 in revenue, which was bananas to me.
A
We give you a
second
second monitor.
computer monitor. So that was the incentive to hit. Okay.
I brought one in and they told me I had to take it home. It was crazy.
Just so I'm clear, the benefit of a second monitor is probably it makes people more productive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're like watching football on it.
It was
It's
2012. You couldn't stream
right,
football.
right, right.
I
Okay.
wanted Salesforce up.
Yeah.
The reality is, and this is the harsh part of management, right? Not everyone is going to grow. Not everyone's going to grow
Mhm.
up in the company. What we talk a lot about is we can't read your mind. You have to advocate. It's our job to make it clear that you can approach us and we want to hear it. If
Mhm.
you give us a vision, if you give us something you want to do, I want to make that happen for you. And we
Mhm.
have examples, right? I have one of our first AE hire in October 2020. After about 18 months, she's like, I really want to move into account management. We didn't even have account managers. She's been an account manager for the last 2 years. John, he's now our sales solution engineer. He was our second AE class. 3 years of crushing it, absolutely hitting his numbers, showing all of that. Halfway through, he goes, Avi, I really want to figure out a way into product. Well, okay, that's a pretty big shift. How can I give you resources to get there? How can I'm happy to give you $1,000 for an online course. Go learn SQL. Just show initiative. Over the last year, he's been doing his job plus other things, and now he's a sales solution engineer building our host pages. That is what we want. I want people to advocate for themselves, and I want to know that
Right.
we'll work with you to give you the path.
Predictions for the future of management for you. And just to recap, the company was fully remote. You now have your sales team in a New York office. You're about 50 people, 20 or so in the New York office. What do you think the next year is going to look like? Any ways you sort of want to modify how you're currently doing things?
Yes. And this is where you think about a management style. And again, to me, I close my eyes. I'm like, oh, we're a 3-person company still. And you're not. The meetings and how we run meetings is so important. The value of a meeting. It's something actually, again, Windmill has helped us quantify the dollars that go into a meeting. Just because we need to communicate more doesn't mean we need to bullshit for 30 minutes. I assume we can curse on this. So our leadership meeting now, this is our second one we've run with this new format of essentially homework, right? And you're filling in this sheet at least the night before. You have to read it. I get 3 minutes to kind of set the tone and the message for the week. And then we're running through everyone on the leadership team with their bullet points. And then we have parking lot items. And already just from the second one, the joy people have when you're like, hey, if you don't need to be here, you can hop off halfway through a meeting is exhilarating, right? It's almost as good as handing someone a hot pizza. So that's been a
Great.
big thing for me as a manager is just respecting and valuing people's time. Last year, we had a culture of going over 10, 15
Mm-hmm.
minutes. Not anymore. You get 3 minutes. You get a 3 minute overage, and then we got to go. Parking lot items. Let's continue with our day.
I like it. It's great. All right. What do you think about over the next, 3, 4 years? How's managing and running a team going to change?
In the next 3 to 4 years, we are going to see our first batch of Gen Z managers, and I don't
Oh
know
boy.
what to expect. Um, I like already just I follow these corporate Natalie and these other people who are like millennial managers online,
Uh-huh.
and it's just so much millennial anxiety and wanting to be friends and camaraderie and all these things, and then like I don't know what to expect from a Gen Z manager. It'll be great. It'll be interesting.
Uh-huh.
Things will change and evolve, and new things are always mostly good. And I think it'll be fun to see those learning lessons and things we get from that next group of managers and styles and things that they like and dislike.
What do you think that's going to look like? What are sort of range of outcomes that it could look like.
It's a hard thing to say out loud. I come from and I'm 35, but like for me, I didn't leave until I was one of those, like, I'm in the office until my manager is there, and man, watching him close the computer was, we missed happy hour, but let's go, right? It's incredible. It's incredible and interesting to see that 4:59 computer close, and at the same time, right? I can say, good, don't get burnt out. Give me 5 years instead of two. Be here longer.
Mhm.
Find your way to not do the millennial, I'm here for 18 to 24 months jump, right? Maybe we're going to go
Mhm.
back to those 7 to 10 year periods at a company, which is better, right? It's
Right.
less training for the future. We're not constantly hiring, all of that. So I sit here and I joke
Mhm.
about I'd be in the office till 7 versus 5, but the reality is, if that allows longevity and that creates more of that flow, I think the companies are going to benefit because it's expensive to train, it's expensive to hire. So I actually think we'll see some of that
Interesting.
from the Gen Z management style.
So your
That's my
hot
hot take.
take
I don't know. I didn't think about that
is
before.
yeah, no, basically you think average tenure of an employee is about to go up. That's interesting.
We had two people that we hired 3 to 4 years ago, straight out of college, and they are still with us and in different positions because I think they protect their ability to not get burnt out. They find a way to make sure that they're getting what they need. So yeah, I think we're going to see
Hmm.
a longer career trajectory at companies.
Interesting. All right, I like it. Very cool. Any closing words of wisdom, a little nugget for all the founders out there on the same journey you're in?
You're not alone. Everything you're doing is supposed to happen. Just keep trying to get better. Take all the information and knowledge you can. Reach out to people. Find the people who've gone through this and get everything you can from them, and then figure out how to make it your own. But every day is better than the last.
Amazing. Avi, thank you so much for joining. Congrats on Marquis' success to date. And it is clear you are not satiated and you're still hungry and growing and wish you the best success.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.